Hey, Brandon here. Today I'm going to be changing a toilet. I'm acting more excited about it than I actually am. It's not a big deal, it can be done by a homeowner. You just got to be careful. I'm going to show you why I'm changing this one and basically how to do it without having any problems down the road. So, enjoy. I'm going to flush this. This is what I wanted to show you. I don't know if they had a leak or if the toilet had moved. Oh, there we go. This is why we're changing it right here. So even with the lid on, that thing was spraying out over the lid, or around the lid, and puddling on the ground. Normally I would just change that valve. It's pretty easy to do. It takes about 20 minutes. You don't have to change anything. But if you look down here, the caulking or silicone or whatever that is around the bottom, I really hate that. So the silicone should be there, but it's going to go underneath and you shouldn't actually see it. So I'll use clear and I'll mask it off properly. But yeah, that's about it. That's why this one's being changed. I wanted to change the bottom anyways. I'm going to get a better one, and this leak here was the impetus for change. So I've got the water shut off. I flushed it, the tank is drained. There's still a bit of water in there, there's not much you can really do about that. And then this part separates with some bolts. I'll take off the supply line, and then these little caps here come off. And I'll undo those, and then the whole thing will basically lift off. Here we see that the tank is off. It's a little bit of rust from where the bolts were. Next is to take off the bolt. So the tank is unbolted. I'm expecting it's just gonna move, even though it's got yeah, see? So even though they've gone and siliconed around it, it's still not even connected to the floor. And I knew that because it was wobbly, but I didn't realize that whole seal was gone. So there's still some water in here. Luckily I've got a bathtub right there. So I'm just gonna pick it up and dump it into the tub, and then launch it out the window onto the lawn. That's how you get a toilet downstairs ASAP. I'm using a razor to take the old silicone up off the floor. Here's the new throne. So a little bit better than the builder spec that tends to be put into new homes. So I'm going to open the box. The box comes with everything I should need, and start lining things up upstairs. So I've carried the toilet up one part at a time. It's easier that way. I think the whole box weighed like over 200 pounds. It sit on the side. I've got the straight edge across the flange. So I'm going to go into the bathroom and measure from the floor tiles to the top of the wax seal and make sure that there's an interference. Looks like just over 3/4, maybe 13/16. That's like 1/8 of an inch of interference. I'm going to see what the instructions say. I know, right? But I think 1/8 is probably enough as long as it's all the way around. I'd probably like to see more like 1/4 inch of compression. So aligning the toilet is always tricky. They never seem to have any great references for doing so. So you almost have to stand in front of it and eyeball what looks square. I'm going to go ahead and mask out for the caulking around the bottom. I've got masking tape all the way around, about 1/8 of an inch outside of the base. That's going to give me a nice clean edge for the caulking. I've also put index marks so that I'm going to get the toilet back where I had laid it out before taking it off to do the silicone. You can see the wax ring barely contacted the toilet flange. I'm going to put the other wax seal on top, and the two will compress together. I'm using a clear silicone. You shouldn't use silicone for sealing in a toilet at all. What you'll see here is I've got about 1/4 inch bead all the way around this outer surface. That is really just to glue the toilet in place. The bolts aren't for gluing or for holding it down. The bolts generally are for positioning. And as a last resort, if this seal here sort of breaks. So what I'm going to do is lift this into place. I've got the other wax ring sitting on top of the first one, and I've compressed it down about a 1/4 inch. So this should give a nice good seal. There it is, it's in place. I'm going to get the nuts on there to tighten it down to the flange, and then I'm going to go around and smooth out that silicone. Everybody knows these caps. You clean around them down here all the time. I've put in dozens of toilets, and I would say forgotten this little piece probably half the time. I don't know what it is. I'm too excited to bolt it down, I guess. But this cap clicks onto that flange, and you want the flange part up. That sits on top of there. Then a washer, and the nut. And you don't want to over tighten this. Remember, you're not holding it down. You're just holding it in place while the glue dries. I've gone around with my finger, smoothed it all out. What you're left with is a very clean line all the way around. And that'll dry and be barely noticeable. But the whole toilet will be nicely held in place. I threw some water in there with a bucket just to stop any sewer gases from coming back up. There's the silicone line around the base. It's very clean. Barely even notice. I'm going to go put the gasket and bolts on the tank, and then we're going to drop it right down on the back here. On this model, they don't have the through holes for the tank bolt down, which is nice because it always rusts on the inside. And I've seen it leak there. So now the only ingress point or leak point would be around this seal here. But it's a very soft foam, and it's going to squish quite a bit when we drop it down on top of the porcelain bowl. So the bolt's just hang in there, and we'll go place it on and tighten her down. The washers and nuts on either side. There's a very even gap. That gasket that's inside there is going to compress quite a bit, and we're really just getting this whole surface down and eliminating the gap. Moment of truth. So I've got the supply line hooked up. I just put that on by hand. These nuts are tightened. I was actually wrong. There's a plate in between on this one, so it's just sitting down on the feet of the plate, but it's still, I haven't over tightened. It's just making contact so that the tank is fairly sturdy. And I've gone and I've measured on either side. It's just a 2 1/4, just to make sure that this is parallel to the wall. The supply line's hooked up. Let her fill and look for leaks. Check this fitting down here for leaks. Also, sometimes the valve can leak. I don't know if you can. Yeah, there's a nut here. If there's a little bit of water seeping out of this after you've opened and closed the valve, you can try tightening this nut just a bit. It'll tighten the wadding around the shaft of the valve here. I'm going to give it the first flush. This has an interesting, instead of a flapper valve, it has a piston sort of thing. I'm going to install the seat and the lid, and we're done. There's a little lug that gets bolted to the porcelain. It's just a nut underneath. You can see that there. Usually the nut catches on something, like the bowl, so then you can just come and tighten it up. So the thing to do here would be to slide this in to get the position. And just go ahead and tighten it down. And there it is. Very clean, worry-free install of a toilet. And you can do it yourself. And that's been installing a toilet with Brandon Rigio, your realtor who knows houses. Hit me up next time you're thinking of making a move. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.